Students, today in this video we are going to see that how we can determine the value of metacentric height GM using experimental method as well as analytical method. And as we have seen in our previous video that the value of metacentric height GM plays a very important role in the stability of floating body, and those floating bodies may be boats, ships, pontoons, etc. So let us see that what are these methods. So starting with the experimental method. So experimental method to determine the value of GM, which is metacentric height, is small w into x upon capital W tan theta, where small w is the weight which is placed on a vessel which is floating in a body, and when that weight which is placed on a vessel is moved through a horizontal distance, then it will be denoted by small x. Capital W will be the total weight of the vessel, including the weight W which is kept on the vessel, and that vessel is floating in fluid. Okay, and theta will be the angular displacement that will be provided to the floating body. So using this, all these values, we can calculate the value of metacentric height GM using experimental method. And now coming to analytical method, the analytical method to calculate the value of metacentric height GM is I by V minus Bg, where I is the moment of inertia of plan of the body about y axis or yy axis, V is the volume of the body which is immersed in fluid, volume of the floating body which is immersed in fluid, and Bg will represent the distance between the center of gravity and center of buoyancy. Okay. So these are the two methods through which we can determine the value of metacentric height GM. So if the value of metacentric height GM is positive, then the floating body will be stable, and if the value of metacentric height is negative, the floating body will be unstable. Okay. So if you are getting negative value of GM through analytical or through experimental method, then in that case the body will be unstable. Okay. And if you are getting the positive value of metacentric height through experimental or through analytical method, then in that case the body will be in stable condition. One more thing I want to say over here, that larger the value of GM, more will be the distance between center of gravity and metacenter, resulting in higher stability of floating body, and lesser will be the value of GM, that is the less distance between center of gravity and metacenter, the lesser will be the stability of floating body. So this is the basic difference between the two methods that are generally also asked in GPSC exams. Generally formulas are asked that how we can determine the value of GM through experimental method as well as through analytical method. Thank you.